Hello everyone, Jesse Head here. Today is going to be a tutorial on bridge placement. There's going to be two sections of this video. Section number one, we're just going to go over how to place the bridge. And then section number two of this video, we're going to be, I'm going to be answering commonly asked questions. So that way, if you have more questions after this, feel free to keep watching. That way all your questions will be answered, and if there's still more questions that I haven't answered, feel free to send me a message. I always love to be in contact with my clients or anybody interested in folk music. So this is the bridge right here. A lot of people don't know this, but the bridge is actually movable. And that's the same with banjos. It's the same with some mandolins and some classical guitar styles. A movable bridge is actually a very common folk tradition. So the total scale length on this thing is 26 inches long. The scale length is the exact distance from the nut or the 0th fret. If you have a 0th fret like this one does, it's the exact distance from the 0th fret to the edge of the bridge here. But when you get it in the mail, you're actually going to find that the bridge is removed, placed down in other words, and set to the side. I have reasons for doing that. Like I said, I'll answer those questions at the end of the video. So when you get in the mail, it's not obvious that the scale length is 26 inches long. So how are you going to figure out where the bridge is supposed to be placed? Here's the number one rule. On these Western style instruments, the 12th fret, except for dulcimers. Dulcimers are an exception because they have a pentatonic scale. But on this more common tuning, the classic Western tuning, the 12th fret is always the center of the scale length. So in other words, if this is a 26-inch scale length, then the 12th fret is going to be exactly 13 inches. How do you measure the scale length? The scale length is either from the nut, or if you have a 0th fret, like in this case, we have a 0th fret in addition to a nut. So in this case, the 0th fret right here is the beginning of the scale length. And where the bridge is supposed to go is the end of the scale length. So, in order to find out where you need to place your bridge, you basically need to take a ruler. I know it's hard to read. My camera's not picking up this ruler very well. But if you measure it up to the 12th fret, the 12th fret is right here, you'll find 13 inches. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler, set it up at the 12th fret, the beginning of the ruler at the 12th fret, and then you're going to trace down to 13 inches. And that's where you want your bridge to be, on the 13th inch mark. So this is how we're going to do it. We're basically going to flip the bridge up, and then we're going to slide the bridge, maybe lift the strings a little bit so that way the bridge doesn't get scratched by the strings. And then you're going to go ahead and move the strings into their slots. And then you're going to double check your measurement remember to set it up at the 12th fret. So I'm just a little bit off. I'm about 1/4 of an inch off. So I'm going to move the bridge back. Move the bridge back again. Check on the other side of the bridge, and that's perfect. So then what you're going to do, if you want to be very, very accurate about the intonation of your instrument, although I'm going to argue it doesn't really matter that much the longer the neck is on your instrument, but if you want to be very accurate about the intonation and the placement of your bridge, you'll go ahead and tune up your instrument, and then you'll go ahead and play. Let's say you tune up your instrument and this string is in tune. You'll play on the 12th fret, and you'll make sure that that's tuned by making very slight micro adjustments with the bridge. And that will give you the best intonation. That last part is kind of optional. For most people, just as long as the bridge is the same distance from the 12th fret. You know, the nut is the same distance to the 12th fret as to the bridge. As long as both of these distances are the same, then you're pretty much golden. It's going to be properly, the bridge is going to be properly set up. Now I do want to go over one more thing. That's bridge placement. Now I want to talk about bridge orientation, because there is a front side and a back side. There's a front side and a back side. And I don't know if you can see it, but the back side of my instruments in particular has a bevel, if you can see that. So that bevel is the back side. And then the sharper edge, you know, it's just flat all the way up to the tip. That part, this side, is the front side. So the side with the bevel is the back side. And that's important because if you set up the bridge in the wrong orientation, you probably won't get this, but you do risk having your strings buzz. So I would just recommend to anybody out there, if your strings are buzzing, take a look at your bridge, flip it around. You might have it on the wrong way. So I think that's an important thing to note. So now let's go into commonly asked questions. Why do I remove the bridge when it gets shipped to you? And you might be thinking to yourself, isn't it easier just to leave it on so that way nobody has to worry about this in the first place? Well, first of all, sometimes packages get jostled. When I ship the instrument to you, I actually loosen the strings so that way the instrument is safer, so that, you know, because there's less tension on the instrument, it will be safer during transit if the tension is removed. So the strings will still be on, but they will be very loose when you get them in the mail. What does that mean? That means that there is an adequate tension to hold the bridge down onto the soundboard. And when the box is being transported, the bridge is going to move around. So you're going to have to set up the bridge anyway. Another reason why I do this is if you think about this sort of sharp object, the bridge is kind of a small, sharp object being placed on top of the soundboard. And the soundboard is actually kind of a delicate piece, and it's supposed to be delicate because it's supposed to resonate sound. It adds a little bit of of a safety measure to have the bridge removed. It reduces the possibility of having your soundboard damaged. Another reason why is, like I said, the bridge will move around during transit if it's left there. And let's say, for example, a hole gets punctured in your box while it's in transit. This is a very small piece. If it's getting rattled around inside the box, there's a chance that it could either get lost inside the box or maybe it can fall out. A very small chance, but I very much care about my customers. I put a lot of care into packaging all my products, all my designs safely, and very securely. So, and with that comes a lot of paranoia. I'm paranoid about the bridge being lost. So what I do is I put it inside a Ziploc bag and then I strap it to the cardboard that's next to the instrument here. That way it's not moving around. It's not possible for it to get lost. There's no way you can ever lose it. It's safe and everybody's happy. That's the way I see it. So I remove it for all of those reasons. Here's another question that you might have. Are you supposed to tighten your strings when you receive it in the mail? Like I said, when you receive it in the mail, your strings are going to be loose. So you might ask the question, are you supposed to tighten the strings first and then put the bridge on, or put the bridge under the strings first and then tighten the strings? I would recommend putting the strings underneath or putting the bridge underneath the strings first. And that pretty much guarantees that the bridge won't be damaged, first of all. But once you have the bridge underneath the strings, basically what you're going to do is you're going to tighten up your strings. You're going to tune them to the proper tuning, but you're always going to be checking the bridge to make sure it's not tipping over, because as the strings are being tightened, the strings are essentially moving this way very slowly as tension is building up, and sometimes that can cause friction on top of the bridge, and slowly but surely you'll find that the bridge is starting to tip over. And if you do nothing about it, then it will tip all the way over, and you don't want to do that. So just as you're tuning it, every now and then make sure that the bridge isn't tipping over.